Armor is back in the discussion around Battlefield 2042, and I wanted to discuss that today. Now, without further ado, remember, if you do enjoy today's video, don't forget to leave it a nice, thick, and juicy like as always. Of course, if you enjoy this kind of content, you want more like it, be sure to hit that big red sexy subscribe button right underneath the video. Also got to thank my channel members. You guys help make these videos possible. If you're enjoying, get access to the exclusive perks that they get, and be sure to check out that blue join button. Anyway, let's begin. So Armor. It was actually first caught by SMK Gaming, and he made an excellent video kind of breaking down what he saw in the trailer. It's a very short frame, but essentially what we've seen from the 10 extra health points in previous trailers, most specifically the Irish reveal trailer, as he's kind of the armor specialist. We see that in this beta gameplay trailer, there is a frame where it's at the full 20 extra health points for Armor. Now, this seems like a very small thing. Armor has been in Battlefield before. The most recent iteration, and I'm not counting Firestorm because that's a Battle Royale, is of course Battlefield 4. The defensive specialization had a perk for 10% extra armor for, I believe it was just chest shots, which is basically just one extra bullet to kill. Wasn't a huge deal. It wasn't some crazy meta thing. And this is what I thought the 10 extra health points was going to be. But what we have here is an extra 20, and that's a bit more significant, more so at like mid-ranges, and with sniper rifles, it may not be a big deal. It may prevent like one shots from sniper rifles or something like that. It may not even matter. But when you're in more CQB fighting and more of those kind of close quarters firefights, your more common engagements, I think you're going to see a more significant benefit to running Irish, and he may end up being a meta specialist. Now, there's a couple of issues with the armor being this significant, and the biggest one for me is, of course, inconsistency in your gunfights. You see, Battlefield is a chaotic game. There's crazy things happening all the time. Buildings are collapsing, things are exploding, things are falling out of the sky, tanks are everywhere. There's crazy things happening. But there are some things that should be consistent, one of which is, of course, gunplay and firefights. Time to kill should be consistent. This was one of the issues with Battlefield 5, was the inconsistent time to kill, not only because they kept changing it, but also because of things like attrition. I also want to quickly say they did want to add armor to Battlefield 5's regular multiplayer. Thankfully, it was scrapped from that game. I don't know if I could have handled 2 layers of attrition in that game, but the guy that wanted to add it was also the guy that wanted to change the TTK and all that stuff. So he's no longer at DICE, so I hope at least it's not his leftover ideas that made it into 2042, but we'll see. Again, that kind of applies to this in general. We have to see how it works in the game. Is it going to make Irish some kind of meta specialist? Is it going to make gunfights crazy and consistent? We don't know yet. Maybe the 20 health points really only is that one extra bullet to kill, and maybe that's not a big deal, or maybe it's something more than that, and that's where the issues come into play, and that's when we got to get our hands on the game. Unfortunately, Irish is not going to be in the beta. I would imagine this is due to the passing of his actor, Michael K. Williams. Rest in peace, Michael K. Williams. But even though he is in the trailer, he's not going to be in the beta itself. Getting back to the attrition aspect of it, I do see it somewhat as attrition because you can spawn in with what is essentially full health. Sure, all the other specialists spawn in at 100 health, but kind of like attrition in Battlefield 5 where you don't spawn in with all your ammo, well, you just go run and get more. For Irish, he just spawns in with armor and again is at full health, wins a couple of gunfights. He can stay at full health because he can pick up armor off of dead bodies. And so I think you can start to see the issue with that is he's going to be a kind of gunfight monster. And while that might be his intended playstyle, it might be good for people that want to kind of run and gun and maybe not be as mobile as someone like Webster, but still be able to have that boost to the health. I don't know. Again, we're gonna have to get hands-on before we judge this, but to me, I see this as something to keep an eye on, especially for gameplay purposes, because again, inconsistency in things that I think are at their best when they are consistent is something that could be an issue in the game. Now, I don't expect DICE to ever fully take armor out of the game. I think they've already implemented it, and I'm pretty sure there's also going to be armor piercing rounds that are going to counter it. I'm curious to know what the balancing is going to be on that. Maybe if you carry armor, you move slightly slower, something like that. Maybe if you use armor piercing rounds, you can use it against people wearing armor, but also maybe use it against vehicles and be more effective against light vehicles, but maybe you lose a little bit of damage against infantry. I don't know. I'm curious to see what that's going to be, and is anyone even gonna want to run armor piercing rounds if it does less damage against regular infantry but does more damage against people wearing armor? Maybe they would, because it would make things more consistent. I don't know. And I'm very curious to know how and why they've implemented it, because to me, just from what we know so far, even though we haven't gotten hands on yet, it just from a distance seems like an unnecessary aspect, an unnecessary layer to the gameplay that didn't have to be there. Is it going to play out that way? We don't know. But I have my concerns just from having played other games and things like that, because I know some people are going to say, oh, well, Battlefield's a big game like a Battle Royale. Battle Royales have armor, it's fine. Yes and no. They're both big games, but they play entirely differently. Battle Royales are much slower and more tactical than a game like Battlefield is. If you've played any Battlefield game, you know the point of it is essentially the multiplayer is an action movie. It's fast-paced, crazy things happen. I mean, we've all seen the Rondazook in the trailer. That doesn't scream tactical to me. So Battlefield, even though it is bigger, it's definitely more on the faster paced, crazy side of things. Whereas a Battle Royale, of course, you're going to play a bit slower, not only because the map is much larger, but because you're trying to survive to the end. In Battlefield, all the time, one of the things everyone says is KD doesn't matter. So are people going to run around like idiots and blow stuff up? Absolutely. Now, there are some people that want to play it tactically, and they do that. But for the most part, people are jumping out of helicopters and flying off of buildings and putting C4 on Jeeps and whatnot and running and gunning. That's Battlefield. Things like that happen. That's what makes the game fun. Whereas in a Battle Royale, you are going to play it more tactically. Things like armor, I think, are more important and adds a layer of the tactics to that game that I don't know if it would fit very well in standard Battlefield multiplayer. Again, it's a wait and see. We got to get hands-on. Unfortunately, Irish will not be in the beta. There might still be armor in the beta, so we might be able to get hands-on with that and see how it works, but Irish will not be, so we don't know for sure if it will. Anyway, let me know down below what you guys think about armor. Are you concerned about it? Do you not care? Do you think it's a good thing? Let's have a discussion, and I'll see you guys in the next video.